Were medieval philosophers familiar with the multiverse theory? Has modern science only rediscovered the multiverse theory that was already discussed among medieval scientists? If true, it's somewhat shocking and rather embarrassing. Is our universe surrounded by countless invisible worlds? Well, we do know that we do have angels and saints around us in another dimension. Now, according to the new study, this is a question that was debated a very long time ago. In fact, these scientific discussions trace back to the 13th century, if not even earlier. Today, the intriguing multiverse theory occupies the minds of some of our best physicists and cosmologists. However, it would seem that our modern scientists are contemplating a theory that was already discussed among medieval philosophers in the 13th century. The multiverse is a theory in which our universe is not the only one, but states that many universes exist parallel to each other. These distinct universes within the multiverse theory are called parallel universes. It should be added that all physicists do not subscribe to the idea that several universes exist, but the multiverse theory is popular among many scientists. Robert Gosseteste, 1175 to 1253, was an English philosopher, theologian, and scientist. Many consider him to be the real founder of the tradition of scientific thought in medieval Oxford and in some ways of the modern English intellectual tradition. He was one of the most dazzling minds of his generation, lauded by his successors as a mathematical genius, theologian, politician, and church leader. He was the Bishop of Lincoln from 1235 to 1253. Medieval historian Gilles Gasper of Durham University said, Grosseteste rediscovered works of Aristotle of ancient Greece and elaborated on theories that truly mind-boggling at the time. Among his scientific writings, his treatise on light, De Luce, is the most famous and extensively quoted, with thought-provoking claims that he predicted a Big Bang theory of cosmological expansion 8 centuries ahead of the Lemaitre and Hubble. In a new study, physicist Richard Bauer of Durham University, UK, explains the connection between cosmology and history. The result and of conclusions of his study are very intriguing. The results give us a much deeper appreciation of science in the 13th century. From a scientist's perspective, I find I had previously completely underestimated the depth of logical argument in the Middle Ages, Bauer said. Bauer and his team started with examining the ancient text De Luce, which means on light. The text written by Grosseteste describes how light interacts with matter in terms of modern mathematics and shows that it can indeed generate the philosopher's claim structure of the universe. De Luce was probably written around 1225 AD, almost contemporaneously with De Colore, although almost nothing is known of Grosseteste's whereabouts at this time in his life. Grosseteste began De Luce by immediately making the bold postulates that light, lux in the Latin, is the first corporeal form, and that it multiplies itself infinitely, expanding instantaneously from a point into a sphere of any size. He argued that neither the attribute of corporeal form nor matter has dimension, but that because form and matter are inseparable, by its expansion into all directions, light introduces the 3 dimensions into matter. In the beginning of time, light extended matter, drawing it out along with itself into a sphere the size of the material universe, Bauer and his team write in the study. In De Luce, Grosseteste also assumes that the universe was born from an explosion that pushed everything, matter and light, out from a single point. Obviously, that's like the Big Bang theory. Anyone with knowledge of astronomy will quickly understand this was an idea that is strikingly similar to the modern Big Bang theory. Grosseteste's theory was based on the dominant cosmological model was developed mainly by the Greek philosopher Aristotle. Aristotle was also the tutor, the teacher, the mentor of Alexander the Great. Now, he postulated that there were 9 planets called spheres, one inside the other, with planet Earth at the center. In an attempt to understand what Grotesque was aiming to explain, scientists wrote down his ideas as if they were modern mathematical equations. The team then used a computer to solve these equations and to see whether they explained the universe as Grotesque imagined it. The results were astonishing. The science team found that the universe imagined by Grotesque indeed could have formed exactly the way he described it. Bauer said, amazingly, the computer simulation shows that Grotesque's description is accurate. However, Grotesque's reasoning only works if there is the right number of properly ordered celestial spheres, and this only happens in the simulations if they are very specific starting points. On their own, Grotesque's laws are not enough to produce a universe he thought he lived in, Bauer said. The medieval philosopher realized his problem too. In order to solve this dilemma, he added an extra reason to explain why they were exactly 9 spheres plus 1, an imperfect Earth, Bauer said. A closer examination of Grotesque's explanation reveals that his ideas were remarkably similar to the reasoning applied in modern cosmology. Today, the laws of general relativity and quantum mechanics are used to explain the origin of the cosmos, but they do not tell us the amounts of normal matter, dark matter, and dark energy in the universe. Bauer said, to explain this, cosmologists often appeal to some new theory, such as a supersymmetry theory, for example. Therefore, according to some physicists, if we live in a multiverse, then there is an infinite number of universes surrounding our own. In the same way, if the parameters of Grotesque models are modified, there will be a different number of spheres around the Earth. And although Deleuze never mentioned the term multiverse, Bauer said that Grotesque seems to realize that the model does not predict a unique solution and that there are many possible outcomes. He needs to pick out one universe from all the possibilities. Robert Grotesque works in a very similar way to modern cosmologists, suggesting physical laws based on observations of the world around him, and he then uses these laws to understand how the universe formed, Bauer said. Grotesque's description of the origin of the cosmos is not accurate and not based on modern physics, but his theory makes sense. When one accepts Grotesque's initial assertions, then it's logical argument that a modern physicist would be proud of, Bauer added. And he said, personally, it reminds me that in future centuries, a new generation of physicists will look back at how we understand the universe today and think, how could they not see that? Modern cosmology is grasping towards a more complete understanding of creation, but we do not see yet the full picture, he said. Another intriguing aspect of the story deals with theological implications of multiple worlds during the Middle Age. According to the researchers, debate on the subject existed throughout the 13th century over whether there might be a multiple actual universes. Aristotle's De Cielo, which postulates an eternal and singular universe, had been available to Western authors since the 12th century. Although the answers Grotesque's day was negative, the notion of multiple universes became a subject closely bound up with the question of divine omnipotence. Article 34 of Bishop Stephen Tapier's famous Condemnations of 1277 explicitly condemned the notion that God could not produce more than one world. We cannot know Grotesque's view, but the computer simulation have revealed a fascinating depth to his model of which he was certainly unaware. The multiverse theory, which undoubtedly be debated for a long time, perhaps until we can find solid proof, confirm, or disprove the theory once and for all. And this is on a message from Eagle. Please leave your comments. Thank you for your support. Please support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.